All right, so we finished, didn't we, with apology? We sent him off to death? Yeah. Punish my sons. All that good stuff. Yes, well, as I said, Crito is, I think I told you guys this. I'll be all straightened out on Thursday, talking to the same people every day. Is the, Jesus had Joseph of Arimathea, who shows up and asks for the body of Jesus, and he has a tomb and all that. And it's not exactly the same story, but, and Joseph of Arimathea is something of a secret, I don't want to say secret, but, admirer and follower of Jesus. Crito is a wealthy Athenian who also admires Socrates and comes to visit him in jail. That's a nice thing to do. Don't know if he's been there before this time. He's been in jail at this point about 27 days or so. There's a 30-day period of time before they're going to execute him. They're also waiting for this ship to return from Delos. They have to get some kind of blessing or something from somewhere. There's a little bit of talk about it in the beginning, and it's not as really important philosophically, but I think, again, it's one of those things that emphasizes, Socrates' interest, at least, in the gods or oracles and all this, even here at the end, and he's having dreams about, that the ship's going to be back in a couple of days, it's back in 3 days, it's going to be back tomorrow. So he's at least, his mind's working that way, then he's sleeping. That might be the indication there is that he is a believer in the gods, and he actually is dreaming about what's going on with all that. He has a vision, or I think it's in his dream. Okay, so I think I already said this, but maybe when I introduced it the other day, but Socrates is doing probably what I would not be doing 2 or 3 days before my execution, and that is sleeping.
Wait, he had 30 days in jail.
Yeah, so from the conviction to the execution date. And that's, if it was in the United States, he would have been convicted, and then he'd be about 10 years worth of appeals and all that, and then they would have maybe got around to, who knows. Federal government, you hear that? They've had like 4 or 5 federal executions coming up in the next little bit. Did you know about that?
Oh.
Yeah, it's really rare, federal executions.
Wait, what do they do? What are they going to eat?
What are they going to what? Eat? I don't know what their last meal requests were. I don't know. The most commonly requested last meal?
Chicken nuggets, hot dogs.
You're close to chicken nuggets. I think you're in the right ballpark.
Chicken.
I think it's a Big Mac and fries. But by the time you get to execution, you've been in jail for at least 10 years, maybe longer. So you're really craving some fast food, probably.
I would ask for a seafood bowl.
Yeah, I go all out. I want a T-bone and lobster and just bankrupt the state, Yeah. But that's what. Anyway, that's going on in the United States now. If you want to follow up on that, it's an unusual thing. I think there haven't been that many federal executions for quite some time, combined, and now there's several coming up here, or a handful coming up. Okay, so of course Catholic bishops are upset about it. The Pope's written letters, anyway. So something to think about. So Crito comes to the jail cell and lets him sleep. Yeah, doesn't wake him up. Yeah, well, he's sleeping. Let him sleep. But it also, what does that show that he's sleeping? That shows something very different than how I would be. What does that show? He's at peace with it. Yeah, he's calm. He's able to sleep. I mean, he's got this coming up. His life's about to end, and he's sleeping. He must really be at peace with all this. So good. And Crito comes in, lets him sleep. Of course, that's nice of him. And Socrates wakes up, and they start talking about this 30 days and when the ship's going to return and all that. But then Crito has a plan. What What's his plan, anybody? Come on, if I say he's in prison and there's a plan, what plan do you have? Thank you. There's only one plan to have, right? It's get out. Let's bust out of here. Socrates doesn't know anything about this. He's not in on this situation, but he's just now been told about it. And what is Crito kind of bouncing this idea off of him? Like, hey, what do you think about us busting you out of here? Is that how he presents it, or is there more to it than that? Is it just kind of an idea he's throwing out to him? Anyone? Like, you know what we should do? Something like that. Is that what he's doing? No, what?
You have a plan?
He's got a plan. He's got what? There's more to it than that? Yeah, but I guess what I mean is, has he done anything to like lay the groundwork for this yet? Or is he just bouncing this new idea off of him that it just came to him all of a sudden? Yeah, okay. Right? Yeah, and those guys aren't just going to roll over, right? They have, what do they have to do? They say, oh, I was asleep, like a Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, the cameras went out. Oh, the guards were asleep and the cameras went out. And he's dead. What do they do? What did Crito, what's he already done? Like he's already, again, he's paid off several people. He's paid bribes to people. Well, I don't know if bribe is the right word. I guess it is payoffs, right? I mean, like, I need for you to like look the other way while you unlock the cell and let Socrates out, while you hand me the keys. Right? He's paid people. So I would imagine there'd be quite a few people. There's it's not exactly like jail's not a one-man operation. There's even back then there's more people guarding, and you got to pay guards, and you got to pay some kind of other administrators or who knows that are going to maybe possibly see this, and they're going to. Okay, so bribes have been paid. You know the worst thing about a bribe? Here's the thing: when you're going to pay bribes, and this is just for all of you, just general knowledge. Make sure that the situation that you're bribing to get going is a go, like they're in. Do you know why? Yeah, if they say no to your plan, you can't go back to the people you bribed and say, "Remember that escape thing? That's not going to happen. So I'm going to need my money back from you." Like, dude, I already spent that money in souvlaki and ouzo, man. It's gone. You heard of ouzo before? Anyone? You can tell me. I'm not talking about it. Ouzo? You had it? That's what you were. It tastes like licorice, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Mean stuff. Yeah. Morning. It was a rough morning. Yeah. All right. Ouzo. It's a little after dinner. Usually after dinner they serve ouzo. And all these Europeans say they drink these little shots to, it helps with digestion, they say. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes not so much. So that's just don't put that in your notes. Just remember that don't pay a bribe until you know the plan is a go, or that it's everyone's in, that way, because you can't go back and get your money back for the bribe. So people just don't do that. Okay, so he's paid money to jailers and all that. And Socrates doesn't he doesn't do anything hastily, really. He's like, okay. So, but he's got even a more plan than that. There's even a larger plan. Anyone else know what that is? Well, he can't just like leave and like walk around Athens like, hey, it's me, I'm out of jail. Sorry? Right, and he's got friends there. Crito does, and you can go and stay with them. So this is a full-scale plan, and it seems like maybe that Crito almost assumed that Socrates would be okay with this. Like I said, he's paid the money. He's obviously a businessman. He's paid the money. He's contacted his friends. They're okay with him coming, and so. I think he's expecting Socrates to go, okay, let's go. But of course, it's not going to work out that way. On page 45, there's a big paragraph there, but about halfway through it or so, maybe a little more than halfway, He says, for men will love you in other places to which you may go, and not in Athens only. There are friends of mine in Thessaly, if you'd like to go to them, who will value and protect you. And no Thessalian will give you any trouble. Nor can I think you are justified, Socrates, in betraying your own life when you might be saved. This is playing into the hands of your enemies and destroyers. And moreover, I should say that you are betraying your children. What is children again? Again, they're like in their late 40s, probably. And moreover, I should say that you were betraying your children, for you might bring them up and educate them, instead of which you go away and leave them, and they will have to take their chance. And if they do not meet the usual fate of orphans, it will be no small thanks to you. Orphans? What age are orphans? Like less than 19, right? Or 18, right? Okay, so you're not orphaned when you're 40. It's just your dad was executed. That's just too bad, but it's horrible, horrible. But it's, I don't know that makes you an orphan. But this talk about the children as if he has a bunch of babies running around or something, and he doesn't that we know of. But okay, so that's part of the plan. Yeah, I've got that all figured out. Did these people that need to be bribed, do they ask for a lot of money? Yeah, that's going to cost you a lot. I'm going to need a couple hundred drachma for that. What do they ask for a lot of money? At the beginning of that paragraph that I just read, it's Crito's middle of 45, he says, fear not, there are plenty of persons who at no great cost are willing to save you and bring you out of prison. And as for the informers, you may observe that they are far from being exorbitant in their demands. So no, people aren't even asking for that much money. And he has the money to cover it, he says then. A little money will satisfy them. My means, which as I am sure, are ample. Yeah? So I can handle it. I got the money. And just, it hasn't really cost me that much money. Okay, so this is important, and there's a reason for this, and it's not clear just reading this. The truth is the city of Athens, or the city-state of Athens, did not want to execute Socrates. They all knew that this was something to hopefully shut him up. This is why Socrates keeps saying, he says it twice in his apology, along the lines of, yeah, a lot of you will probably ask, why can't you just be quiet? Why can't you just hold your tongue? Why can't you stop doing this? Because he knows that's what they really want. What they really want is this is a threat. This is taking him to, even that seems like pretty extreme, but they took him to trial. And instead, if he would have begged for mercy, they would have probably given it to him. Say, okay, but you have to never do this business out in the streets again, questioning, people and all that. You got to stop that. You just retire from that and live your life with your children, your babies, whatever you got. I don't know. Okay. But they didn't want to. They know that he's not guilty, but he's humiliated enough of them and ruined reputations a little bit and all that he's something of a threat, I guess, or maybe just an embarrassment. And so they were hoping that maybe he would come to court and beg for mercy. He does just the opposite. He defends himself and actually becomes kind of belligerent with, as I said, with the people judging him. So they had no choice. I mean, he called their bluff. This was the bluff, and he called it. He said, yeah, well, in fact, if you kill me, I'm going to go in the afterlife and even question those people. I can't stop. And Apollo's put this on me. I have to go. So that's a real, so now what do? They put him in jail. And then when Crito comes around and says, hey, I'm going to bust Socrates out of jail and I'm going to have to bribe you. And what was he going to, they don't ask for that much money. They don't really want that. They don't really want to execute him. And they would much rather say, wow, we were guarding him and he got out somehow. We don't know what happened to him. But obviously, he can't be wandering around Athens. He can't embarrass them like that. That would be, I just saw him on the corner. What do you mean he busted out? He's out on the streets. He's got to leave. He's got to go some other place where they can't really get to him or take effort to get to him. So anyway, this was all kind of in an attempt to just shut him up, just to kind of quiet him down. And he doesn't go for it. And now Crito shows up with this fairly simple plan or fairly inexpensive plan to break him out of jail. And look, on page 46, I think Crito must be rolling his eyes like, are you kidding me? But in the middle of 46, dear Crito, your zeal is invaluable, if a right one, but if wrong, the greater the zeal, the greater the evil. And therefore, we ought to consider whether these things shall be done or not. For I am and always have been one of those natures who must be guided by reason. Whatever the reason, this is a point Crito is say, hey, I know your spiel. I know, reason, rational, but this is your life though. Let's get out of here. You can give the speech later when you get to Thessaly, right? No, he keeps on going. Right. Whatever the reason may be, which upon reflection appears to me to be the best, and now that this fortune has come upon me, I cannot put away the reasons which I have before given, the principles to which I have hitherto honored and revered, I still honor, and unless we can find other and better principles on the instant, I am certain not to agree with you. No, not even if the power of the multitude can inflict many more imprisonments. Okay, goes on. So, yeah. So, zeal, yes, thank you very much. But it's got to be zeal for a positive cause. And I've got to talk about that. I've got to reason this out. Is this a good thing to do? Is there a right thing to do for me to escape from prison? But if it's a wrong zeal you've had, then it would be greater evil to have done that then. So I've always been this way. I can't just toss aside those values that I've honored up till now just because this is the thing that's going on in my life now. I've got to guide myself by those same principles. Unless you have some better ideas or some better values and better principles right now, then I'm probably not going to go along with this. Just historically, so remember I told you Socrates taught Plato, and Plato had a student named Aristotle. Remember that? Aristotle gets into a similar situation. He's in jail, and someone comes to break him out of jail, and guess what? He's like, okay, and he leaves. He gets out of jail. Yeah, he would have known this story really well. Like he would have known it backwards and forward. So he knew that he is, more like the rest of us, I guess. It's got to be discouraging to Crito, who's paid all these bribes and made the plans and all that, and now he's like, oh, really? You want to talk about it? Like you want to okay, you want to work it out. All right, let's skip ahead to page 48. The bottom of 48, Socrates' last line. I'll just read the first little bit of it. From these premises, I proceed to argue the question whether I ought not to try and escape without the consent of the Athenians. And if I am clearly right in escaping, then I will make the attempt. But if not, I will abstain. So, okay. And that whole paragraph goes into 49, which is just explains that more. Okay, so then he has kind of this, I don't know what to call it. It comes up on 50 and 51. This kind of, I don't want to call it, it's not a, yeah. No. Yeah, this would have had to been dictated to him, I guess, by Crito, maybe. Yeah, relayed to him or something. That's a good question. He is present for Phaedo, the last one, and the others he was present for, but this one he's not though. Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to call this an imaginary discussion because that's what he's having, but here's the deal: is that Crito is talking about saving your physical body, saving your life, and strange as it sounds, that's a level of discussion right about here. Socrates is talking about saving his soul and about what's the virtuous and just thing to do. So he's talking about these loftier ideas of what it would, if he escaped, what it would mean to him and to his soul and what damage he would do there, as opposed to just saving his physical body. Crito's like, let's just save your skin. Socrates is like, let's save my soul. That's more important. He said that during the trial too. That he feels like he does justice to the soul by conversing about these things daily. But because Crito never engages him at this level of justice and virtue, he's just talking about, let's just keep you alive a little bit longer. It's escape. We can walk. Socrates knows it's a done deal. He can walk out with Crito and he'll be just fine. But would it be the right thing to do, though? And since Crito will not engage him on this level, he ends up having to have this kind of discussion with something other than Crito. He has a discussion with the laws, but he speaks for the law as well. So Socrates really is talking to himself, is what he's doing, which is not really a sign of insanity, but it's maybe that you're on your way. I don't know. Depends on what you're talking about, I guess. So I'm going to skip ahead to 51, the bottom, Socrates' last line. And again, I think if Crito would have engaged him at the same level, he could have had this discussion with Crito, but he doesn't. So the first few words out of that at the bottom of 51, then the laws will say, and then quotes, consider, Socrates, if this is true, that in your present attempt to escape, you're going to do us wrong. For after having brought you into the world, nurtured and educated you, and given you and every other citizen a share in every good that we had to give, we further proclaim and give the right to every Athenian that if he does not like us when he has come of age and has seen the ways of the city and made our acquaintance, he may go where he pleases and take his goods with him. And none of us laws will forbid him or interfere with him. All right. So you get to be a certain age, you see how things work here, you know how things go. Obviously 70 is probably certainly way past that age. And if you don't like things here, there's nobody at the gates waiting and saying, what, you're leaving, you're not coming back? No, you can't do that. No, you're free to go. You're free to go to some other place and live. This is not your only option, yeah? So at some point, I don't know when that would be. Maybe we have different ages. 18, 21, I don't know, somewhere in there. You have enough knowledge what's going on to decide, is this really where I want to live? It's the same way here, right? I mean, there's no one, if you have a one-way ticket, they're probably going to have some extra questions for you at the TSA booth, Why do you only have one ticket? Right? What's all this luggage you've got? Maybe, but there's no law forbidding you just for buying a one-way ticket and flying to, I don't know, Norway, and I don't know if Norway wants you or not, but you can go there and you can try, yeah. It's possible. There used to be bumper stickers. I remember back when I was in the 70s, then when the Vietnam War was still a little bit going. I remember as a kid, and they said, America, you still hear it today, America, love it or leave it. Well, leave it is a real option. It really is. You can really go someplace else, and no one here is gonna interfere. They may send you back, but you can do that. This is what he's saying. That whole little thing there. It's Athens, love it or leave it. Yeah. Well, he's loved it for a while. And how do we know that he's loved it? How do we know that he's been satisfied with life there? Yeah. And how many times has he left Athens? Never. Never. Now, he went outside the city gates one time. What was it? Military service or something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but because he had to. But he's never left Athens. Can you imagine? Athens is 100,000 people at the time, so it's not even some megaplex like it is now. It's huge, but it's 100,000 people. He's never left Athens. Yeah? Never. Can you imagine having never left? Tulsa's bigger than Athens was. Having never left Tulsa. Yeah, it's hard to find someone now today that's always been in Oklahoma. Anyone over a certain age, at least. Yeah. A lot of people left the country, gone other places, but never left the state, never left the city. Tulsa or Athens, it's hard to believe 70 years. That's kind of an indication that you're okay with things, right? Because if things were really that bad, you would have taken off by now. You would have gone. So he falls under this category that he's setting up here, that when you've come of age, and it's very personified here, and you've made our acquaintance, hello, we're Athens, well, it's nice to meet you. He may go where he pleases and take his goods with him, and none of his laws will interfere with him. Okay, but then, the second line from the bottom, 51, Any of you who does not like us and the city, and who wants to go to a colony or to a city, to another city, may go where he likes and take his goods with him. But here's the but he who has experience of the manner in which we order justice and administer the state, and still remains, has entered into an implied contract that he will do as we command. And he who disobeys us, as we maintain, thrice wrong. First, because he's disobeying us, he is disobeying his parents. Secondly, because we are the authors of his education. And thirdly, because he has made an agreement with us that he will duly obey our commands, and he neither obeys them nor convinces us that our commands are wrong. We do not rudely impose them, these commands, but give them the alternative of obeying or convincing us. Yeah. It's very democratic, right? Do we have a thing like that? You can either obey the commands or you can do what? You can leave, of course, that's the third option, but what's the other thing you can do? Well, what most people do. You can go to jail, okay? But he says here, what does he say there? Again? Yeah, you can change. You can try to get the law changed. That's maybe easier said than done, but you can try to convince, the city that certain laws are unjust, and you make your argument, and but if you do neither of these things, you dishonor us, you don't follow the law, and you don't try to convince us that our laws are wrong. Well, after this many years, at some point, and everything else we just talked about, you've entered into an implied contract. We've all done that, right? We're all under an implied contract. Did you know that? Yeah, especially at this age by now, you're most all of you, right? Have any of you registered for the draft yet? Men? Is it women too now? Why not women? Let's get them in there. Huh? You have? Well, you're okay. Yeah, I had to do that. They started that when I was in high school. It was a big deal about that. Right. Okay. Everybody was afraid they're going to start the draft up again. Right. Although there's no war going on, but
don't want to get fined if there is a war.
Yeah, and then you can't get student loans or something. Or they made it a lot more strict than it used to be. They added some. I think they thought people would just do it out of patriotism or something, and then a lot of people didn't do it, and now they had to put some teeth in it by you couldn't get student loans. A lot of things you can't do. Yeah, you got to register for the draft, and that means that, if something happens, they got your name and phone number, right? And then if they need you, and they decide they want to reinitiate the draft, then you could be drafted. Then what do you do?
Die.
Well, maybe. You're going to be in the military somewhere. Yeah.
I go to jail.
You can go to jail. You can try to convince them that this draft idea is a terrible idea. Yeah. Write your congressman, I guess, or you can go. You can, you say, well, this is. I knew this was part of the deal when I signed that card. I knew what was going on. I mean, I was 18, but I guess they thought I was old enough to make that decision. And then also they
have a medical problem.
Well, you could find out you have some kind of
Take your
problem.
leg off.
Well, people have done stranger things to get out of the draft. Yeah. People have been drafted, and then shot themselves in the foot or something, self-inflicted injuries.
Make yourself pass.
Remember also TV show MASH? It was an old show. It was back on the 70s, so maybe. Yeah, there was a guy in their unit there that was a hospital. It was a military mobile hospital, and one of the guys would dress like a girl every day, a woman every day. He was I think Klinger was his last name. He dressed like a woman every day, trying to get out of the army. Yeah, because he was. I don't know, because back then, well, I mean, I think it'd be similar today, but if you're going to dress like the opposite sex, he would wear hats and dresses, and that's just how he dressed every day. But he wasn't like a cross-dresser. He just wanted kicked out of the army. He wanted to get a Section 8, I guess, was they always talk about. Yeah, well, so people have done unusual things. That was the TV show. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's only unusual because he wasn't a cross-dresser. He was only doing it to get out of the army. All right, so yeah, what other? We don't have a whole lot. What's our other obligations we have? What else we got? If you get called for military service, you pretty much have to go. we had this problem, right? Not problem, but I mean, issue happened in the Vietnam War. People were going to Canada to avoid the draft. People were burning their draft cards and leaving the country. Socrates would kind of say, yeah, you're a little late on that. Yeah, you're free to go, but you should have decided that before you signed that card. You already signed up in a way, and you're now, now you don't, oh no, that was a war and they want you, and now you don't want to go. What else are we obligated to do? This is the same contract. Must be more to it than that. There's not a whole lot really they require, but what is it, right? Jury duty, yes. I got out of jury duty. I was supposed to be in jury duty in January, like the day school started, mini semester of last year. Supposed to be in jury duty. I went down to the courthouse in December, and so like January 4th or something, courthouse, and I said, you know, I've done it before. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they no. It's just worth a try.
You have to do it once.
No, they could call you several times through your lifetime. I mean, I don't know, 3 or 4 times maybe. I've done it a couple times already. But
Oh, you have to do it, or you're like,
if you get called, you have to do it. In fact, when they call the roll of the juror pool, and if you're not there, the judge sends a deputy sheriff to your house, or they'll come. Like they would have come and gotten me from, yeah. But I went down there in December and I said, hey, I'm a teacher. This is the day the semester starts. I didn't tell about mini semester and Bigfoot and all that, but you know, I got to tell about the kids that we never went to the moon. There's a whole bunch of stuff to teach. You know, I didn't say all that, but I said, and they said, oh, okay. And I just asked the right person, and she moved me to June 1st. Moved my jury date to June 1st.
What about today?
So, no, she couldn't do that. Then, but wait a minute, things work out in a weird way. But then I showed up on June 1st, and I went to she said, oh, I'm sorry you didn't we're not doing jury trials anymore, like right now, only special. So you need to get out of this building because of COVID, man. So I got out of it. And I said, well, should I wait for another? She's, no, your name will just go back into the pool and it'll just randomly come up again at some point. Maybe never. But, so I did get out of it. But I showed up though. I was there.
Wait, can you not do it past a certain age?
No, one jury pool I was in, they were older people. They're pretty, I did federal jury duty one time and at federal court. And they're very strict. Like there's nothing, like if I would have said I'm a teacher, they would have said, yeah. There were people there that were like one-man businesses, like electrician. They had, you know, it's just them in a van and they have a business, you know, and they didn't let them out. Like, I mean, their business is gonna suffer for that time they're serving jury duty. They let one guy out because he couldn't hear very well, and the judge said, like, put his hand on his microphone and goes, "Can you hear me?" And the guy goes, "What?" And he's like, "You're excused." And one guy works for the IRS, and he let him out too. I think there's a good chance there's tax stuff involved in some of these federal cases, so he would be, anyway. Well, yeah, he would know more than what the attorneys would probably want him to know about what's going on, so it's all weird. Anyway, what else? There's one other thing I'm thinking about here. I just mentioned it actually. Taxes, right? Okay, so timely topic right now. Taxes are something that we're required to take care of and pay. So that's I don't know. It's hard to come up with other things that we're required. I mean, obviously follow the law, you know, but that's not going to get you all the time. Going to get you executed, or right? It's not every crime we do is an executable crime. Not a capital crime. Yeah, you gotta stop at red lights. Okay, but really, it's a pretty good system for the Joe citizen, right? You got a lot of freedom, and you got a few things you're obligated to do. A handful of things. It could become more monumental later. All right. What time is it? 50. Okay. Did I tell you what the class did on Friday?
No.
I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but like slowly they started like closing their spirals up like this and putting stuff away, like one at a time. And this person over here started doing it, and in my head, like that's just the cue to me, like subconsciously. Okay, we're about done. And I stopped, and we had like 10 minutes left, like we do now. Was that you guys? You guys are doing it again. I see what you're doing. All right. So, does anyone? This is this idea. This probably wouldn't be the first time it's been expressed, but quite eloquently expressed by Socrates. But what does this develop into later? There's something we call this today. We know what it is. This idea that the obligations of the city and of the state, and hey, Oktoberfest is over.
What?
Is Oktoberfest over?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
So what do we call this though in social terms? What do we call this, or governmental terms, or political terms? That you're the citizen, you have certain obligations and rights and responsibilities, and the government has certain, rights and responsibilities as citizens, and we're going to kind of, what do we call this? Anyone know?
Civil obligation.
Yeah. There's actually a kind of a formal name for this whole discussion. Because some states and some countries, there's more the government does, if you like it or not. I don't know. There's more things, and maybe more things. In some places where more things are required of citizens than other countries. This is no one knows what I'm talking about. Goes along with John Locke and Berkeley, right? Yes, social contract theory, right? This is really influential on the forming of the United States. On our forming of our government, right? Right? Anyone do debate here? That's usually a topic. No, that's debate. Okay. Social contract theory, which is really a very important, I'd say, Enlightenment, maybe just just on the other side of pre-Enlightenment era discussion, and again has a real important influence on Western democracy. But I have to think that a lot of it, comes not just from this discussion with Socrates, but from this what we call the cradle of democracy, which is Athens, or Greece in general. But yeah. Okay, so the bottom of 52, Socrates' last line. Then will they not say? Again, Crito's not really following. Crito said very little, only one little thing on the bottom of 52, but then will they not say, you, Socrates, are breaking the covenants and agreements which you've made with us at your leisure. We haven't, all right? Not in any haste or under any compulsion or deception, but having had 70 years to think of them, during which time you were at liberty to leave the city, if we were not to your mind, or if our covenants appeared to you to be unfair, you had your choice, and might have gone either to Lacedaemon or Crete, which you've often praised for their good government, or some other Hellenic or foreign state. So you have plenty of time to get out of here, and now the tables are turned against you, and now it's a little late to make that decision. You've already made your decision to stay 70 years. Good. So at the very end of 54, unless I'm missing some pages. No, I'm not. That last paragraph of about 5 lines, the bottom of 54, Socrates says, this is the voice which I seem to hear murmuring in my ears like the sound of the flute in the ear of the mystic. That voice, I say, is humming in my ears and prevents me from hearing any other, Crito. I can't hear your voice anymore. And I know that anything more you will say will be in vain. So I can't hear you, and even if I could, it would be in vain anyway. Yet, speak, if you have anything to say. Pretty much means my mind's made up. Crito knows this. I have nothing to say. Then let me follow the intimations of the will of God. And he goes on, as we know, to execute it if you're interested in that depiction. It's just a couple of pages at the bottom of 113 to 115. And he has his friends there. Crito is there. Plato is there. Other disciples are there. They bring him his wife and kids briefly. And I guess there's some other women of the family that came, and they start to cry. And because of that, he sends them away. He said a few words to his sons and then sends everybody away. Doesn't want that kind of thing. Then other people, his disciples, start to cry. And he asked them not to, I just sent away all the women because of this same outbreak or outburst. And so please don't do that here for me. And they try to hold themselves together. And then he asked the jailer to bring him some You know what they gave people? It comes like a chalice cup. It's in the picture. It's on the cover of your book there. But do you know what the poison was? They gave them to drink. It's not injected. Again, hemlock, right? Hemlock is and there's a paralytic agent within hemlock that paralyzes you physically, but also then it paralyzes you internally as well. So apparently it starts to work from the feet up. So he had the jailer bring him, and at the end they try to make this one last little jab about his faith. He asks if he's able to make a sacrifice to the gods. Like that would have meant a libation, which meant like pouring a little bit of the drink out on the ground as a sacrifice to the gods. With wine, you would have done this as well. In the normal, sometimes we even call drinks today. Oh, well, there'll be libations served. Well, the original use of that is that you make a little sacrifice of the wine, let it pour out on the ground. He asks if he can do that to the gods. And the jailer tells him, no, we only make enough poison, for you, your body size or whatever, so that so pouring any out could, make you just wish you were dead and be in a lot of pain. So he doesn't, but he offers some kind of prayer. And then he drinks the poison himself. It's all very, I don't know if I say it, dignified in a strange way. And he lays down and his feet start to go numb, and it works its way up from the bottom up, and it works its way up. And when it gets to your heart, then his lungs and heart, that's where it stops. And that's how they kill him. That's how they get rid of him. All right. Well, some of you probably wanted to finish him off anyway, so he's gone now. We'll still talk a little bit more about him. Okay, so I won't see you guys again until we're all together. I'm gonna have to get a new seating chart for you guys because I gotta know where everybody is with the contact tracing. But I'm gonna have to I'm gonna pull this seat up here, and but you know how it is. We're not gonna be able to be 6 feet apart anymore. There's no way. There's not enough room in those classrooms. Some classrooms are worse off than this one. This actually is a pretty long, pretty deep room here. But yeah, that's one of my concerns. Is here we can at least space everybody out pretty well. But we'll see. Okay. So Thursday we'll all be together. Wednesday we'll have a virtual day. We'll do that. And then Thursday we'll all be back together. All right. End broadcast. Oh, I had somebody sign. Who signed in there? Send me a message. All right. Somebody's watching.